Hello there, Ricky Raven here. We Ravens are kind of amazed to see that people seem to have two opposite options for your world history. One begins a short time ago and says flood. The other claims a long, slow, gradual process that took billions of years. Why? How about I share the world through our eyes? Many of us ravens choose to build our nests on steep cliffs to avoid the predation of nest robbers like snakes, squirrels, and others. But we also have to consider that erosion from rain wears away the surfaces, and these cliffs are worn constantly. If we're not paying attention, we run the risk of losing our entire family that year. But here's the thing, there's no shortage of sheer cliffs. They're everywhere, on every coastline. They're on the walls of most canyons, and in fact, they are everywhere, even the so-called steps in the very middle. This is exactly what we'd expect if the flood was both worldwide or very recent. If one area was older than the other, you'd have a drastic difference in the shape of the cliffs. Old cliffs would be worn and nowhere near vertical. What we don't understand is how can you look at these features and say it's been millions of years? Because even at 1 million years, just from rain alone, you would have massive erosion on every cliff throughout the entire world. Deep erosion scars would be found everywhere. Also missing is the major rock and soil debris that would be found at the base of every cliff, in every valley, at the base of all mountains, in all lakes and all rivers. And look, the fact there are numerous sensitive surf structures along many coastlines demonstrate there's extremely little erosion everywhere. Look at the Grand Canyon. It's taught scientists estimate the canyon may have formed 5 to 6 million years ago when the Colorado River began to cut a channel through the layers of rock. Do you really think you'd have these massive vertical cliffs all along the outside of the canyon if that was true? How? 5 or 6 million years of just rain erosion alone would have drastically crumbled these cliffs far back, and all the sides of the canyon would be long, eroded slopes. There would also be massive amounts of rock debris everywhere, both along the sloping sides and especially at the base of the canyon. In fact, there's actually hardly any debris at the base of the canyon and very little on the sides of the canyon. In far less than 1 million years, I'm betting the soft white sediments above would have completely eroded to cover all those red sediments below. You wouldn't even see any red anymore. In fact, from the air, it looks like a massive dam broke sometime after the Ice Age and recently washed this whole canyon out all at the same time, just like we saw with the Missoula floods. We know this to be true because we ravens see the erosion and deposition is exactly the same throughout the entire canyon. If it wasn't the same age throughout the canyon, then we would see the supposed older areas would have far more erosion, and rock and soil deposits would be far greater in those areas. The outside rims especially would be suspected of being older, yet they are the most vertical and have very little erosion at the top and extremely little deposition at their base. They look extremely young, like they were formed just recently. Let's look at some of the other special areas where we ravens live. Do you think we'd see arches in Arches Park if this place was millions of years old? There's barely 2,000 arches in the park, and just since 1977, more than 40 of the soft sandstone structures have collapsed. Although the park only gets an average of 10 inches of rain a year, that would be 10 million inches in 1 million years. In far less than 1 million years, no arches would be found in the park. There wouldn't be any hoodoos in Bryce, for its soft sediments would have eroded away long ago also. The park's website now reports erosion in some areas of Bryce as high as 2 to 4 feet every 100 years. This is similar to what we ravens see in other areas of the world also. Right there. And that's how much is eroded. How old do you think that tree is? It's not very big. See that piece right there? That fell off the top of that. The alluvial fans in Death Valley and elsewhere would be much larger and spilling all the way down into the valley floor, and would probably have reached the Pacific Ocean by now. The hills would have been worn away long ago. Even the mountains would have been leveled in less than just 1 million years' time. There has been very little time since the last major disaster created what we see in Death Valley. All the non-volcanic islands all over the world would be long gone. Those two close to me, San Clemente and Santa Catalina, can't possibly be the 17 million years old that they're claimed to be. The highest point for either island is less than 1,800 feet, and the erosion scars from just rainfall alone would be far more dramatic. Neither of these islands could have lasted even 1 million years, and the fact that they still have sheer cliffs so close to the shoreline with very little deposition demonstrates they are in fact very young. I've been soaring above Crystal Cove for decades now, and like Bryce, I've seen massive erosion far faster than anyone has reported. If there was even 1 million years of erosion, these cliffs would have been eroded somewhere between San Bernardino and Las Vegas. Or the erosion scars would be miles out into the ocean. There appears to be only a few thousand years of erosion here. In fact, there is no coastline anywhere in the entire world that demonstrates erosion of more than 10,000 years. Let's face it, at 1 million years of just normal rainfall, there wouldn't be any of the sheer cliffs we see anywhere close to any existing coastline. None whatsoever. They all would have crumbled far inland. And actually, you know this. You people made a documentary about the Gay Head Lighthouse on Martha's Vineyard. The lighthouse was built there 160 years ago. It was recently moved back 130 feet at a cost of close to $2 million, and they're estimating that may give them only another 150 years. And that's because the cliff erosion averages about 1.5 feet per year, and this has been going on since 1845. So doesn't that make you wonder, how old could that island possibly be? Look throughout the world and you will see many more stories. Search Pacifica, a coastal town south of San Francisco, where you can see spectacular drone footage of it happening right on YouTube. Watch the White Cliffs of Dover and notice how many homes are going to be lost to them over the coming years. Check the history and slides of areas like Big Sur, with another good one that took place in 2017. More recently, look at Santa Barbara and the problems we're having there. And these aren't from oceans rising, it's just the erosion from rain. And if this is happening in California, where rain is scarce, what's happening in Asia, where you get monsoons every year? I encourage you to take a serious look at the real world around you, because if the surface of the world was even 1 million years old, it wouldn't look the way it does. Just rainfall alone would have worn, softened, flattened, or at least rounded any and all these amazing features we enjoy so much throughout the entire world. And keep in mind, you also have wind and erosion from freeze and thaw. That makes the erosion problem far worse. The problem is the past scientific paradigm leads the world into believing the process of erosion is long and slow. I can tell you with absolute certainty it is not. We ravens are warning you everything is happening much faster than you've been told by your scientific and academic communities. We're also convinced there are engineers and many cleanup operators among you who, working in the field, are very aware of this problem, and yet nothing is made public about it. Why? The history of the ancient cultures of the world told you there was a flood that covered the entire world not so long ago. That's a historical fact, not a religious belief. The event reshaped your world and has been eroding away pretty consistently ever since. We ravens see it in our day-to-day living in the real world. We invite you to come. come and see for yourself. And then, please, come back here and share what you find. Thanks for watching.